How we doing? How we doing? How we doing, guys? Welcome to El Exec Talk with your host, El Velez. The Exec Talk with your host, El Velez. Bring out the classics, aka the lean glasses, the lean goggles. Seeing purple, you know what I'm saying? Purple. This is an homage to my boy Future, one of my favorite rappers and one of my GOATs. Dropped the album of the year. Plain and simple. Album of the year. This is a sports podcast, but I'm an artist as well, and I've loved Future ever since the beginning. So I got to give him Metro. You feel me? All the love in the world because they killed that album. We Don't Trust You was amazing. Plain and simple. I love it. Been watching reactions of it. Just because, like, you know, it's nice to finally see, you know, Future really get into the bag. And of course, Metro is probably the best producer in hip hop of this generation, I believe. He's a GOAT. On the other hand, welcome, like, subscribe, share on Instagram, on Twitter or X, on TikTok, on Snapchat, share everywhere. Some clips are up on the TikTok and on the Reels on Instagram and on the Shorts on YouTube. But yeah, hit the notification bell. I love that you guys are here. We're going to talk about different things. We're going to talk about NASCAR. We're going to talk about IndyCar. We're going to talk about F1. Which we had a surprise. Thank God. We're going to talk about a little about baseball because we're heading into baseball season. This weekend is the first, is opening day. We got opening day this weekend. We have the NCAA tournament, men's and women's. The women's is kind of chalky. The men's is kind of chalky in the second round. The first round was some upsets. One big one, of course, we're going to talk about Kentucky. But other than that, it's been pretty chalky. Favorites went higher seeds, basically. Favorites went 15-1 second round. So all the 1 seeds are still in. Houston, Purdue, UConn. Why do I forget that fourth 1 seed? Oh my God, that's going to kill me. I'll think of it. If anything, we'll search it. But all the 1 seeds are in. All the 2 seeds are still in. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty good battle towards the end for the NCAA trophy. We're going to talk about a little about NBA. We're going to roast the Warriors. It's not looking good. The Rockets are nipping at their heels for that 10th spot. They've won like 8 or 9 in a row. Jalen Green's averaging like 30. It looks like they figured it out finally. I mean, it took Ime damn near the whole season from that little bump burst they had in the beginning of the year. But finally, I guess it's getting together. You know, one of the things about Jalen Green, it's so weird to see him have success because we saw this in his rookie year. Struggle. Last 3 weeks, month of the season went nuts. Second year, struggle. Goes nuts the last 20 games. Third year, struggle, inefficient, struggle. Is he the guy? Can he be? And same thing this year. Like, I don't know why he just doesn't turn it up at the beginning of the season, be efficient. You know, maybe he's figured it out. I mean, he's like 22, 23, so maybe he's figured it out finally. I would hope so because they did invest I believe it was a number 2 pick on him. So, and he would be one of those G League Ignite stories that G League is getting shut down. One, I believe, is just they didn't get enough eyes on it. They weren't marketing it well. 2, it didn't really develop players. Scoot is having trouble adjusting. Kaminga took 4 years. Jalen Green has took 4 years. Hardy has, basically become a role player. So, like, you know, I think that overall, I think that shutting it down and letting overtime elite college, um, maybe that if you're going to shut down G League Ignite, then I think you should consider the possibility of letting people go in from high school again. Just because in the high school game, there's more emphasis on like the NBA style of individualism and creativity, open floor concepts, pick and roll is basically all they run. So I believe that, and a lot of players believe, former players believe that the high school game is much more closer to the NBA game. The only thing in the high school game, I believe it's no shot clock, which is horrible because you go from no shot clock to 24. And then also efficiency, now I guess it's being really emphasized, but like it's really not in high school. So those are two different things that I think they should look at, lowering the age so high school seniors can get in. And if they're going to shut down G League Ignite, find some way to allocate those funds that were to G League Ignite, maybe to the WNBA, maybe to the G League itself. But, I think it's a good move overall, since overall it could be seen as a massive failure. Yeah, I mean, everybody out of there has not gotten to the place that they thought they should be coming out of there and getting drafted really high. So that's some NBA stuff that we're going to talk about. But let's start off with F1, okay? Let's start off with F1. And so Carlos Sainz wins. We get a different winner. Ironically, it's the same guy that stopped Verstappen last time. I believe it was in Singapore last year. Verstappen was going for 10 in a row to break his own record. And Carlos Sainz won and broke that streak. Now, we can rave about till the cows come home how Carlos Sainz ran. And he ran beautifully. But let's not be remiss here that Verstappen, his right rear brake stuck on the formation right after the formation lap when they got to the grid. When they apply traction control in order to start to get the start, so basically, rev up the car into a range where once they get off the traction control, it takes off and they least wheel spin as possible. The problem with those cars is that the formation lap, because it was hot in Australia, it is very possible for any of the brake pads to stick to the rotor. If that happens, it doesn't matter if your foot is off the pedal. Your brake is still engaged because it's stuck to the plate because of the heat. That's what happened. It was stuck to the plate as soon as he started the race. You didn't see the smoke until heat really built up. And when heat really built up is when he made the mistake in turn 3. Carlos was just I got to give Carlos credit because he stayed within DRS range the first 2 laps in order to get DRS. Well, you get DRS after 1. So he stayed within range. But because Verstappen's brake was stuck, he couldn't get through turn 3. I think all the right-handers, he couldn't take the way you want to take them. So he didn't have a chance to elongate the lead. All better for us. As soon as I started seeing smoke off the back of that car, I said engine. And then we looked at it a little bit more. Me and my dad were looking at it as he's running because he ran a little bit with the smoke. And that's coming from the tire. And we were all speculating like, oh, brakes, engine, something else. Goes into the pits. They take off the tire and that shit is melted. Like, it looked like a scary, scary sight if he would have kept going racing. Like, for real. I'm glad that he was out of the race. The next person to go out of the race, I did not like. Lewis Hamilton. Blows an engine. Like 10 laps in. After starting 11th, so they weren't starting good in a good field position anyway. And blows the engine. Race is over. No points. Okay. Then we get Russell trying to get up through the field, battling Fernando on the last lap of the race. Really for like 5, 6, 7, 8 laps, like trying to pass Fernando. Fernando is just a wonder, when it comes to racecraft and putting your car in the right place to not get past and stuff like that. I mean, there's nobody better than Fernando. The guy's been doing it for forever. So, getting past him is tough. He got close. On the last lap of the race, he took a gamble, tried to go inside, got clipped, lost the back, hit the wall, flipped over. Nothing bad. Really slow speed crash, but no points again for Mercedes. So we're seeing a trend. Not that they won't get points later but they're already behind the 8 ball. As for Ferrari, they look competitive. They look like they might have something. What we didn't expect is that we thought it was going to be Charles Leclerc, the guy going to be chasing podiums and chasing wins against Verstappen, if there was going to be a reality where somebody would compete. But it's Carlos Sainz, the guy with no seat next year. No seat. Why? Oh, because Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion and considered the greatest of all time, is going to take his seat. So where's he going? I have a theory. If Verstappen were to, let's say, get fed up with Red Bull because of Horner, and he talks to his dad, and his dad says, yeah, I think we should get out. It's too toxic of an environment. That means that he will also be taking Adrian Newey with him to, right now we can say Mercedes is the one that's trying to get him. If that happens, the whole power scale changes. Because Adrian Newey is the one that holds the crystal ball. Now, this might change, although the guy's been doing it since the 80s, so I don't think so. But it might change once we get to the smaller car, more compact in 2026, with a different fuel regulation, I believe, even more stringent. It might be a new engine. Audi's in there. The stake team is basically getting 100% bought by Audi, all of Sauber, essentially, because they want to do it right. And that means, having every single ounce of power with the works team, which is the team from Audi itself, the one that runs Le Mans and, runs the endurance team and all the GT classes that they run around the world. But the works team, which is Audi WRT, wants to have full control of that team, and I don't blame them, because if you are, let's say, you're Audi, right? But Sauber's running your team, you're not getting anywhere. Your name is on it, but you're not designing anything. You're not really hands-on. So I think that once this season's over, I think Audi's taking over for 2026 for the new regulations, making a brand new car. But I think Verstappen would lean towards Mercedes. Depends how him Toto, look and stuff like that. But that's for another time. Shout out to Carlos Sainz. Shout out to Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc. Ferrari 1-2 for the first time in forever. I mean, forever. Like, in years, Ferrari 1-2. And it's been the first time since I believe they said 2007, which was Lewis Hamilton's rookie year, where it was Ferrari 1-2 and then 2 McLarens because Norris and then Piastri were 3rd and 4th. And that was when Kimi Räikkönen, Felipe Massa, Fernando Alonso, and Lewis Hamilton. That was your front four back in 2007. Kimi Räikkönen. Yes. Felipe Massa. Yes, the guy that got hit in the head with a spring and ended his career. The reason they have halos. Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton running the McLaren Vodafone cars back in the day. Those were the days of Formula One running V10s. I mean, it was awe-inspiring to see and to hear V10s. A lot more aero and little winglets, stuff like that. It might have been the year of the V-duct. I'm not really sure. That might have been 2008. That's a duct that Mercedes came up with to help aerodynamics in the back and stuff like that. Really innovative stuff by Formula One, especially in those days where they were still pushing heavy boundaries. Now it's a lot of restriction and like you got to really be really smart and efficient about what you try. But back in the day, it used to be crazy, just a jungle. But shout out to Carlos Sainz winning at Melbourne in Australia. Overall, really exciting race, 4 DRS zones, a lot of passing, good pit strategy. But overall, Carlos basically, if it wasn't for Verstappen leading the first 2, 3, 4 laps, I mean, Sainz would have ran that thing flag to flag because he was dominant. He took care of his tires. They started on mediums. A lot of people started on hards. I don't know why Lewis started on softs. No idea over there. I guess Toto knows. But overall, good race. Granted, it wasn't so exciting because there was not a battle at the front. Whew. Excuse me. It is nighttime. Okay, after a work day. So I'm doing this for you guys so you have it tomorrow on Tuesday at 9 a.m. So excuse me about that yawn. But overall, I think it was an exciting race because Verstappen, we didn't hear the Netherlands and Austrian anthem at the end. We heard the Italian and his, Spanish from Spain's anthem. So that was nice. So thank God for Formula One. For 1 week, we get some respite from the Verstappen domination. Hopefully, we say this more than once this year. We can only hope. Next, we had the $1 million challenge at Thermal for IndyCar. First time at Thermal, private club with a bunch of rich people with their houses around the track in the Coachella property. It's in Coachella, California. What they call the Coachella grounds, where they hold Coachella every year. It's so many acres, so they made this track. Really nice track, 17 turns. All the amenities possible. I mean, it was an osh-posh, super lavish, rich people with a lot of money. Guys that race their Aston Martin Valkyries and Apollos and Koenigsegg's, Bugattis and McLarens. on this track privately, and they invited Indy for a showcase, if you will, a showcase because it wasn't for points. It was for a $1.7 million purse. The winner, which was Alex Palou, the surgeon of precision, he won the $500,000 prize. McLaughlin won second. He won 250 or 350. I believe it was 350, and then third place was 250, and that was Felix Rosenqvist. Herta, Colton, he got fourth. He won $100,000. Really interesting. It was 4 testing sessions, and then qualifying was a weird. They didn't hold it the same day. I guess it was raining or a sandstorm. They received a sandstorm mid testing. But Palou was fast. Felix Rosenqvist was fast. Then for the actual race, it was 2 heat races. Felix Rosenqvist won the first one. Alex Palou won the second one. Every 6 advanced, 12 advanced to the final, 20 laps, with a 15-minute break in between, or 10-minute break in between, so 10 and 10. The first 10 laps was kind of weird because everybody was saving tires. The tire degradation in this track was incredible. It would chew up through tires if you were going hard. So Colton dropped all the way to the back, like 93 seconds back, and was limping around, basically saving all his tires. Some people did that. Palou ran his race in the front. He really saved his tires too. He was like 3-4 seconds a lap slower than the fastest lap of the weekend. And then the last 10 laps, the next stage, everybody went for it. Colton went from last to 4th, just using that tire advantage. And Alex Palou, he's a 2-time defending Indy champ. But the thing is, he reminds me of a young Scott Dixon, where it was just, if he's on the track, if he has a good car, which most of the time he does, running for Ganassi, if he has a shot, and if he ever gets the lead, you're not seeing it again. That's what Scott Dixon when he was younger was. Even now, if Scott gets the lead, very tough for people to pass him. But, they call him the Iceman for a reason. Doesn't feel pressure. Palou's the same thing. They call him the surgeon of precision because he is so smooth, races you if you're around him, so clean, kind of like Lewis Hamilton. But if you want to pass him, you better be good on your tires, good taking care of your equipment and your car, because he's not going to make a mistake. And if you are in front of him, do not make a mistake. He will capitalize and then drive away from you. So shout out to Alex Palou for winning at Thermal. I believe they go to Long Beach next. Excited for that. Excited for the Long Beach Grand Prix, the Acura Grand Prix. I believe IMSA is going to be there at the same time, so it'll be both Long Beach Grand Prix, IMSA and Indy. So that's going to be fun. So shout out to Alex Palou winning $500K. Pretty good. Pretty good for 20 laps. Then on the NASCAR side, they were at COTA, the Formula One track in Texas. Another 17 turns. Actually, 20 turns. And what I can say about this racing is that, man, you got to respect these guys. You're talking about over, I think it was 37,000 shifts. Something, the amount of abuse this equipment takes, the cars, jumping curbs, it's very impressive that more toe links don't break, axles, drivetrains, transmissions, even though SVG lost first gear, you know, for them to survive as good as they do, and the cars look good. Like, they're not, since they're made out of carbon fiber now instead of metal or aluminum or sheet metal, what they were before, now they can take punishment, they can take their bruises, their bumps, and they still can win. We've seen that. But shout out to William Byron. Basically, pole to checkered flag. He won the pole, got the lead out of turn one, and never gave it back. Ever. Only gave it back during pit stops, and even after that, he got it back pretty quickly. He held off Christopher Bell at the end. Christopher Bell, on a different strategy, had taken tires not to the back of the field, but like mid-pack, with around like 20 laps to go or so, 25-ish laps to go. And he drove through the field from like 17th all the way to 2nd and was catching William Byron. But he didn't have enough laps left, and William Byron kept the pressure enough and saved enough of his car and his tires, because tires were a big deal, especially when they started to fall off. People were running 2-3 seconds before 2-3 seconds like a lap slower when they had basically no tires. So Hendrick continues the domination. That's 3 wins, including the Daytona 500. They're going to Richmond next. That's Denny Hamlin's playground. He's won there like 7 or 8 times, most at all time in Virginia. Byron he was so smooth, didn't make mistakes, didn't get into squabbles. When he had to pass in traffic, he did it flawlessly, didn't flat spot his tires. It was a zero caution race, so essentially if he ran his race, he should have won, and he did. They just had the stage breaks as cautions. Everything else went without a hitch. People spun a lot, but if you can get back going, since it's a 21 turn course, it takes 2 minutes for you to go around. So it mitigates a spin, get back on track, and keep going. No harm, no foul. No need for a full course caution. So strategy played. There was different strategies. There was the strategies of people that hadn't won yet and had to get the points for the playoffs and make sure that they were doing good for the season championship and getting into the playoffs, which is the last 10 races of the year, and only 16 people make it. But people that won could take a little aggressive strategy, lead at the front, stay somewhere around the front, pit with 4 laps to go in the stage, have good tires, let whoever wants to win the stage, and when you restart, because those guys that won the stage have to pit to get tires and fuel, they recycle to the front. So there was a lot of cat and mouse there. There was also teams like Christopher Bell who won stage, or didn't win a stage, but like was at the front on one of the stages, stayed out, restarted, and then got tires to then move through the field, which was when he went to 17th to 2nd in the last stage. Really enjoyable race, really fun. Just watching those cars slide around COTA. Such a tricky track, made for Formula One, made for open wheel. For them to just throw it around in there. SVG did great. AJ Allmendinger got a top 10. SVG got 2nd in the Xfinity Series the day before behind Carl Larson because, Austin Hill decided to get a little bit too aggressive into turn 1, pushed them. They got out of the groove. Larson went to the front, and this is all last lap of the race. After SVG basically dominated him and AJ, Kyle Larson hadn't led a lap, and Carl Larson was 3rd. Got in front of both of them. When Austin Hill got first. SVG was second. Kyle Larson was third. Coming into like turn 16, 17, SVG got close enough that he could push Austin. He pushed him, but then he went himself wide, and then that gave Kyle Larson the corner so he could take the apex and take the lead from both of them and lead one lap. And then that lap was the checkered flag in overtime because SVG was dominating in regular, even in the first overtime, and then the second overtime, all shit broke loose. But shout out to William Byron, shout out to Hendrick. Toyotas were still strong. I expect them to be strong in Richmond, especially Denny Hamlin. Overall, it's Toyota. It's literally Hendricks versus Gibbs. Ford is not even in the spirit realm or world of these two organizations and two manufacturers right now. They're gonna have to figure out something. They do have the defending champion, but overall, right now it's Toyota with Gibbs and Hendricks with Chevy. A little bit of Trackhouse, Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez has been running well, but Haas and Colleague Racing and, Legacy Motorsport, Jordan with Reddick ran well. Bubba Wallace had another horrible day. Thank God. That guy's just not good to me. He hasn't won because he's not good, to be honest. Like, he gets some good track position. He sometimes qualifies really good, but I don't know. Sometimes those experiments that NASCAR does with some drivers to try to push them, and sometimes they just don't cut it. It's just simple as that. Really impressed with SVG. AJ Allmendinger's a beast. Kyle Larson's a beast. And yeah, so that was NASCAR. If we talk about the NCAA tournament, the NCAA tournament has been very interesting for two reasons. Kentucky lost, and I believe that is their second early loss in a row, and an early loss for Kentucky is basically not reaching the Elite Eight, essentially, because that's what they're used to, competing for championships. Jack Golke from Oakland, 15th seed, hits 10 of 23s, 50%, to send the Wildcats home in round one. Now, I don't know if this will affect Dillingham's draft stock per se, or Shepard, but it doesn't help. I don't think it helps it. Especially when Alex Sarr and other Rochelle, I believe. I don't know who the other French guy is. But they seem like they are at the top right now of the board as we speak. I don't know if, no success in the NCAA tournament affects Dillingham or Shepard, but for how high they were being projected, which is the lottery, and both of them kind of in the higher end of the lottery, I don't know if no success in the NCAA tournament round one exit helps their stock. Other than that, if we look at the NCAA little ladder here, if we look at the ladder, we had Colorado beat Florida. That's because our dude broke his leg. So, understandable. Duke beat Vermont. Northwestern beat FAU, which had just come from basically a Final Four last year. Baylor beat Colgate on a 92-67 rout. San Diego State beat UAB. Marquette, 2 seed, destroyed Western Kentucky. Clemson, 6 seed, beat New Mexico. UConn destroyed Stetson, 91-52. That team is ridiculous with Klingon and Hunter. Yale beat Auburn, the 4 seed, so that was one of the big upsets, 78-76 in a crazy game. Texas A&M beat Nebraska 98-83. No Keisei Tamanaga for the next round. Purdue didn't perdon't. They beat Grambling, the 16 seed, 78-50, as they should. Alabama beat Charleston, the 4 seed. Houston beat Longwood, so good start for the 1 seed. Wisconsin lost to James Madison, a 12 seed, by 11 points. Very bad outing for Wisconsin there. Utah beat TCU, 88-72, and Grand Canyon beat St. Mary's, the 5th seed. So that was another 75-76, another upset. But then we get to the second round. Actually, Thursday, there was more games. Michigan State beat Mississippi State, the 9th seed. Duquesne beat BYU, the 6th seed, as an 11. Creighton beat Akron, the 3 seed. Arizona, the 2 seed, beat Long Beach State. You had Wagner lose against North Carolina. North Carolina was the other 1 seed that I was looking for. UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, Houston. There we go. 90-62. Just all Carolina. Illinois beat Morehead State. Oregon beat South Carolina on the back of Kuzar dropping 43. That kid can play. Dayton beat Nevada as a 7 seed. Texas as a 7 seed beat Colorado State. You had Iowa State as a 2 seed beat South Dakota State. Gonzaga as a 5 seed beat McNeese. The 2 seed Tennessee beat St. Peter's. NC State beats Texas Tech, so the 11 seed wins 80-67. That was ridiculous. Washington State beat Drake, and Kansas beat Samford 93-89. That's a slow one there. The second round that just went on Saturday and Sunday, Arizona beat Dayton, so the 2 seed moves on. Gonzaga beats Kansas, so the 5 seed moves on. 89-68 wasn't really even competitive. That's because Kansas didn't have McCullers, their leading scorer, so I kind of give them a little pass on that, but still, it's a lot. Michigan State lost against North Carolina in a blowout, 85-69. Iowa State beat Washington State, 67-56. Oakland got beat by the 11th seed NC State, 79-73. Golke had a good game, but wasn't enough. Tennessee beat Texas, the 2 seed. So the 2 seed Tennessee moves on, 62-58. Duquesne loses against the 3 seed Illinois, and Oregon loses against the 3 seed Creighton. On Sunday, Duke beats the brakes off of James Madison, 93-55. Marquette wins 81-77 against the 10 seed Colorado. Purdue destroys Utah State, the 8th seed, 106-67. Good game by Edey. So all those are not going deep in the tournament. Those are falling on deaf ears over there. Clemson, the 6 seed, beats Baylor, the 3 seed, which Baylor has some good players on there. So Clemson moves on. Alabama beats Grand Canyon 72-61. Northwestern gets their brakes beat off by UConn 75-58. Houston wins by 5 over Texas A&M 100-95. And Yale goes down to San Diego State 85-57. Not really a competition. So what we got for the Sweet 16, Thursday, we start. We get, actually, since it is on Thursday, I'll preview it on the next episode. Women's is kind of chalk. Women's has been Iowa, South Carolina, Notre Dame. It's been very, very chalky. the women's. On the first day, actually Friday was the first day. Yeah, North Carolina beat Michigan State, so that was the favorite. Ohio State destroys Maine. One upset, Louisville lost against Middle Tennessee. South Carolina murdered Presbyterian. They only scored 39 points, while South Carolina scored 91. They're the favorites to win the chip. Duke beats Richmond. Texas beats Drexel for 82 to 40 to 82. Virginia Tech destroys Marshall. LSU beats Rice. Kansas State beats Portland. I mean, this is all favorites. Alabama beats Florida State. Baylor beats Vanderbilt. Colorado beats Drake. Iowa State beats Maryland. Oregon State beats Eastern Washington. Stanford beats Norfolk State, and Texas A&M loses against Nebraska. Then on Saturday, more of the same. Tennessee beats Green Bay. UConn beats Jackson State. Indiana beats Fairfield. Kansas beats Michigan. Notre Dame, the 2 seed, beats Kent State. NC State, the 3 seed, beats Chattanooga. Iowa destroys Holy Cross, 91 to 65. Caitlin had a near triple-double, 27, 8, and 7, I believe, is what she came out with. I'll tell you guys right now, look at the box score. I believe it was 27, 8, and 7. She went 27, 8, and 3 and 10. So 2 rebounds away from a triple-double. So she murdered. She did great. They really hit the 3 that game. I saw the highlights. They were hitting 3s. Syracuse beats Arizona. Oklahoma beats FGCU. Ole Miss beats Marquette. USC, the 1 seed with Juju beats Texas A&M CC. West Virginia beats Princeton. Creighton beats UNLV. Gonzaga beats UC Irvine. UCLA beats CA Baptist. And Utah beats South Dakota State. It's chalk. Literal chalk. The next day in the second round, Duke beats Ohio State. So here we go. So Duke, the 7 seed, beats the 2 seed Ohio State. South Carolina destroys North Carolina, 88 to 41. Not a chance. Colorado beats the 4 seed Kansas State. So that's the 5th seed, 63 to 50. LSU beats Middle Tennessee. Oregon State beats Nebraska. Texas beats Alabama. Baylor beats Virginia, so the 5 beats the 4 there. And Stanford beats Iowa State. Right now, the games that are going on in the second round, West Virginia versus Iowa, 48-43 in the fourth quarter. That's closer than I thought it would be. UCLA versus Creighton. UCLA is losing right now, 50 to 46, in the third quarter. Notre Dame beat Ole Miss. NC State beat Tennessee. UConn beat Syracuse. Indiana beat Oklahoma. And at 10, you have Juju Simpson versus Kansas and Gonzaga versus Utah. So we'll see what happens there tomorrow. So that gets the tournament out of the way. Let's talk about a little bit about the NFL. Some rule changes. Some different things have happened. The owners' meetings are happening as we speak. L'Jarius Sneed got traded to the Titans. And not for a lot. We thought L'Jarius Sneed, CB1, would either get a big deal or get traded for a huge package, or not even a huge package, but something along the lines of maybe a second round, first round pick, maybe just because of how impactful he is. Yeah. It looks like the deal didn't get done between the Chiefs and them. They were always open to trading him. They weren't going to hold him hostage under the tag. So they put the tag on him just to try to like see if they can get a deal done. They did not. In a trade, the Chiefs send L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans, which is a sneaky good move for the Titans. They needed a number one corner. They received a 2025 third round pick and a 2024 seventh round pick flop. While Sneed will sign a new contract with the Titans. I don't understand why it was so low. I don't get it. Supposedly the Colts made some phone calls, but the Titans were always the team that was really at the front of the pack for them. If you're going to give away your number one corner that just helped you win a Super Bowl with a game-winning play at the 1 yard line for a 2025 third round pick and a 2024 seventh round pick flop, I don't know what, not Clark, but the GM and Andy Reid himself. I don't know what they're doing, but they know how to get their way through the draft. So maybe that third round pick next year turns into somebody, or they trade the pick and flip it. That 2024 seventh round pick flop, I don't know how that's going to work unless you find another Pacheco or something like that. For the Titans, this is really good. They can kind of, in their division, when you think about number one receivers, they don't really have to worry about anybody except Michael Pittman with the Colts. Other than that, I mean, Tank Dell or Nico Collins with the Texans. And then no Calvin Ridley. So you're literally looking at, you're not looking at much. Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and is it Deontay Johnson? Did Deontay Johnson go to? Now I sometimes don't remember I sometimes don't remember the trades. I don't think it was the Jaguars, though it doesn't sound like it was the Jaguars. I think I don't know. I don't know if it was. No, he went to Carolina, so he went for Bryce Young. So yeah, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk. Maybe they draft one. Maybe they trade for. They try to get T. Higgins. He's still out there, surprisingly. If somebody was going to snatch him up, I thought that they would, but nothing's going on with the Bengals there. So very interesting that, he's not being at least a little bit shopped around at this point. It kind of really surprises me, if I'm being honest. Knowing that he's a number one and that he can definitely, make a difference for a team. But I don't understand why there's not a more deliberate approach to kick the tires. Especially on T. Higgins. I don't understand. Among the Titans' additions so far, L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, Awuzie, and they have the 7th pick, which they'll probably pick. If Joe Alt is there, they'll pick Joe Alt, considering that the Chargers might go wide receiver. Or they go Olu Fashanu. Well, they could go there, Talisi Fuaga. It all depends on what they want to do. Other than that, if we talk about the little rule changes here and there that has happened, the kickoff is going to be changed, but I think that since the competition committee said, oh, instead of the 35, let's move it to the 30, people are just going to kick touchbacks still. Supposedly around the people that know the GM of the Commanders, they're saying JJ McCarthy at the second pick. Let me tell you what that is. That is called complete and utter bullshit. Okay? This happened last year. Actually, no, not last year. This happened with Mac Jones, with the 49ers and Trey Lance and stuff. This is just smoke and mirrors, which I don't know with the second pick why you would throw smoke and mirrors out there. But if they do this, if this new ownership group goes in and overthinks the wheel and drafts JJ instead of Jaden, you will be the laughingstock of the NFC for the next 20 years. And then you would also give the Patriots Jaden Daniels, which is not a good idea at all. Under any circumstance, you do not want to give a team that has no momentum any momentum. Make them Drake May. Make them go the hard way. Sit them. Suffer with Brissett. And then they can maybe get good later. But you do not want to just hand the Heisman Trophy winner and an elite athlete with size to the Patriots. Just don't do it. Also, I believe Vikings will move up to possibly number 6 with the Giants for JJ McCarthy. If Arizona moves out of there, they're dumb. If the Chargers move out of there, they're dumb. They need to take Malik Neighbors, because if they don't, the Giants will. And they still need a number 1 receiver. They got rid of Mike and Keenan. I don't think Quentin Johnston is going to be their number 1. So they have to drop Malik if Arizona drafts Marvin. If Arizona does not draft Marvin and they go Malik, then they just take Marvin Harrison Jr. Plain and simple. That's pretty cookie cutter. The 6th is where it gets dicey, because the Giants, from what I have been hearing in the interludes in the webs, Daniel Jones might not be the long-term answer there, which is what we've been saying forever, but they're the ones that gave him the contract. Considering that they have weapons-ish, but they lost Saquon. Overall, I would still take wide receiver. But now you're competing with the Vikings. Do you just stomp on the dreams of Vikings fans and even Raiders fans and draft JJ McCarthy right there? And potentially just take your quarterback of the future, you develop him, and, you're happy for the next 10 years with Daboll, with an athletic quarterback that is probably the most accurate quarterback he's ever had. Or do you say, okay, Daniel Jones, we're going to give you one more year. And in this one more year, we're going to give you the best weapon possible. We're going to give you Rome Odunze. This is the best we can do. If not, Brian Thomas Jr. If they want receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. will be there at 11 if they want to trade with the Vikings, because the Vikings will probably offer 23 and 11 to move up to 6. If not, 11 and a second round pick to move up to 6. If they do that, they'll take JJ McCarthy. If the Giants move down to 11, Rome is going to be gone at the 9 spot because of Chicago. But Brian Thomas Jr., the freak of nature, will still be there at 11. So, depending on what you want to do there is a lot of wiggle room. Now, granted, the Jets are there at 10, and they could either be looking for a quarterback, or they might. The thing is, they still need offensive line. So if I'm the Jets, and I'm at the 10th pick, and I have a shot at Talisi Fuaga or Fashanu, I think I'm taking it. That's just me. It's just because you need it for Aaron Rodgers. Now, if you fall in love with Brian Thomas Jr., by all means, take the kid. But if you can't throw him the ball because you have no protection, that does not work. Maybe they're old Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. Maybe that works out, but they're old. Kind of like Teron Armstead with Miami. Old. So, will they get you what you want? Should you take a high-end tackle? I believe you should, but, if they want another weapon, they could definitely take Brian Thomas. And then the Giants are looking probably at A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Legette, Xavier Worthy, even though they already have Jalen Hyatt, so you shouldn't draft a speedy guy. Interesting, because Malachi Corley, not a guy that it's getting mentioned the first round at all, but the best yak guy in this class, according to everybody, him and Malik Neighbors. He ran a 4.45. That's pretty good speed for what he does. At his pro day. So that's pretty good. So will he start jumping up boards? Or he's a very intriguing prospect. People have been talking about him since the Senior Bowl. He couldn't do drills at the combine, so he did them today at pro day and showed out. So that's going to be very interesting. The kickoff is going to be changed completely. Like we said, it will no longer look like the kickoff we're used to. They're just trying to take the impact out of the game. The hip drop tackle. Listen, there's two ways to look at this. One, it's good for the game because the tackle is legit dangerous and can cause extreme damage, as we saw with Mark Andrews this season, breaking his fibula. But at the same time, it is a form of tackling. Now, the way that they interpreted the rule is that if you're around the waist and you unweight yourself, which is basically jump in the air to just drop, to make yourself like an anvil, on the lower half of the player that you're tackling, bringing down to the ground, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. That is tough. That's a 15-yard personal foul. Now, another thing that was passed was you can get a third challenge just by winning one of your challenges. So that's good. They're trying to get that the sky judge, it's not really a sky judge in the NFL, but essentially that's what it does. The guy in the booth, there's a referee that is in the booth along with the people on the field, And we saw it last year after further discussion. The rule has been overturned or anything like that. That's getting in. That's the referee getting information through the ear from the guy looking at the replay. Supposedly, they're going to have a little bit more freedom in telling them, hey, pick that flag up. Hey, that's not a foul, and stuff like that in real time. So we'll see how that works. I'm excited about it because maybe there'll be less horrible calls and more emphasis on like, yo, let's actually abide by what's happening in the game instead of like, subjectively what we see is this, but objectively what the replay says and shows is this. We don't want to have that. So the hip drop tackle is going to be probably a rule that goes in this year. They test it out, see how it is, maybe lower the consequence from it. But the thing that the reason they said they passed it is because there's teams that are actively, we don't know the teams, but there are active teams that teach the hip drop tackle in a form where it is most dangerous for the opposing player. So that's why they passed it. They need to add that type of safety to the game. Other than that, not much have come out from it. Oh, besides the Steelers, Mike Tomlin saying that it's Russell's job. He has the pole position to be the starting QB. He's not against competition. And when it's time to compete, Justin will be given the opportunity to show his capabilities. What that tells me is that Russell's here for the year. Then he's going to be gone. After that, Justin Fields will take over. This year for Justin Fields, he should use as a complete sponge year. He's behind a Super Bowl champion, a guy that's gone to 2 Super Bowls, been a multi-time All-Pro, led the league in passing, led the league in touchdowns, really doesn't turn the ball over. A guy that he could learn from, future Hall of Famer if everything goes right in the next few years. But he's not going to start. Justin Fields will not start. And I don't think he'll play a lot either because Russell doesn't get that hurt either. Jim Harbaugh for J.J. McCarthy, he said that he's never seen a pro day as good as J.J. McCarthy's. I mean, this is just throwing in shorts. He did have a good pro day. He threw very well. People are impressed by him, but he says he plays quarterback best out of all the quarterbacks. I don't know about that one. I know that you're his coach. I know that you won a national championship with him, but I don't know about that one. The Steelers signed Quez Watkins for a year. Yeah, that Quez Watkins, the guy that they call Fast Batman in the Eagles. So now they have a full replacement for the receiving core. You get Quez Watkins to get into the Deontay Johnson role of the speedster outside and the short yardage kind. You got George Pickens, your true number 1. And you have Freiermuth, your dominant tight end. You don't need much else. Now, supposedly they were looking for T. Higgins, so hopefully not. Hopefully not. OBJ, the Dolphins extended the contract, hasn't been signed yet, but we're in talks, and supposedly it's looking positive. So we'll see if OBJ comes here. That would be very interesting. We've done horrible signing wide receiver superstars to this specific locale in Miami. The only success story has been Tyreek Hill because Mike Wallace sucked. Brandon Marshall sucked. Yeah, those are the ones that I could get off the top of my head, but everybody we brought in here has sucked as a superstar wide receiver. People still in free agency. Justin Simmons, Stephon Gilmore, Jadeveon Clowney, Quandre Diggs, Julian Blackmon, Michael Thomas, Ryan Tannehill, Xavier Howard, Trey White, which is Tre'Davious, Calais Campbell, I think he should retire, Adoree Jackson, Jamal Adams, Steven Nelson, J.K. Dobbins, Odell, Tyler Boyd, Micah Hyde, Connor Williams, Donovan Smith, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ezekiel Elliott, Hunter Renfrow, MVS, Emmanuel Ogbah, Zach Cunningham, Shaq Leonard, Quan Alexander, Avonte Maddox, Carson Wentz, Dalton Risner, and Eddie Jackson. There's still a lot of talent out there, guys. There's still some legit talent out there. I don't know what's happening, but they're not signing. I guess everybody has who they want and they're going to the draft like that. We'll see after the draft how many of those guys get signed, though. Let's move on to the NBA. We got to talk about, unfortunately, I love them, but we got to roast them when they suck. Yeah. The Warriors. They've lost 2 in a row, 4 and 6 in their last 10. The problem is with that is that they're only 1 game up on the Houston Rockets, and they've won 8 in a row and are 9 and 1 in their last 10. They got back to 500, 35 and 35, 14 and a half games back to 13 and a half games back. That's the difference. One more loss and win by either team, and this could be either tied or Golden State finds themselves out of the play-in. They said that, Steve Kerr said that you can't put all the things on Curry. He's playing them like 30 minutes a night. At this point, you got to run to fumes, man. You got to take the Tibbs approach. Just run them into the ground, and at least till you make the play-in. Because one game, you had a 3-4 game lead on this 10th spot. Everybody, I thought it was cinched up, and now you are not playing well. You got beat by Minnesota, kind of expected, but the other losses, man, they were bad. And you guys keep losing leads, and that's not good. Houston's playing really well. Jalen Green is playing really well. So is Amen Thompson. No Cam Whitmore. Jabari Smith got suspended for 2 games for trying to fight. I don't know why you would do that. Dylan Brooks is playing well. So is Van Fleet. Aaron Holiday. Tayshaun Tate. No Tari Eason. No Sengun. And they're winning, man. They're winning. So very, very interesting how the West is panning out at the end, at the bottom. At the top, still only 1 game. Denver's on top right now by 4 thousandths of a percentage point. OKC's a half game back. Minnesota's a game back. Denver has won 3 in a row, 8 and 2 in the last 10. OKC's 7 and 3 in the last 10, and Minnesota's 7 and 3 in the last 10 with no Rudy. Cat's going nuts. You have the Clippers 5 and 5 in the last 10, and they are a half game up on the Pelicans. The Pelicans could be the 4th seed. Zion's playing great. So is Trey Murphy. They're 8 and 2 in their last 10. Trey Murphy's playing absolutely great, sniping away. Zion is being his dominant self. B.I.'s playing great. So is CJ, Valanciunas, Alvarado. They're completely healthy. Dyson Daniels is going to come back. He's already, doing on-court workouts. It's going to be a very dangerous team come playoff time. Sacramento's 8.5 games back, so 2.5 games back of 5. 7 and 3 in the last 10. They're playing well, but I don't know if they'll catch New Orleans at this point. Dallas is still tied with Sacramento, 7 and 3 in the last 10, and 1-3 in a row. 41 and 29, both teams. I think Sacramento probably has the tiebreaker. That's where in their 6th seed. Phoenix is also tied with them, 42-30. But one more loss puts them at the 8th seed. But they're in 8.5 games back, tied with them as well. This is going to be a dogfight. They're 6-4 in their last 10. The Lakers have won 3 in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Already 2.5 games up on the Golden State Warriors, so they're kind of out of the danger zone. They're trying to. I don't think they'll catch Phoenix or Dallas, but firmly in that 9th spot. If we go to the East, Boston's Boston, 9-1 in their last 10. Milwaukee's 10.5 games back, but they're second, 6-4 in their last 10. Dame is playing better. Now that Giannis is back, Dame is still playing relatively really good. His numbers hasn't dropped as much as they were in the early part of the season. Cleveland has already fallen back a little bit. They're 2.5 games back of 2.5 games back of Milwaukee. So still there, but kind of losing their steam. They're 6-4 in their last 10, so they've lost a little bit of steam. New York is a half game back of Cleveland for third seed, which would be amazing without Mitchell Robinson and mostly OG Anunoby and no Julius Randle for the second half of the season a lot. So that's incredible for Jalen Brunson. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Orlando's just a game back of New York at 14.5. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Then you have Indiana a ways back, 4.5 games from Orlando. So I think they're 6-4 in their last 10. I think they're sticking at 6, but not really, because Miami's a half game. We're in 7th, 17.5 games back, 4-6 in our last 10. They're not playing well. Philadelphia's tied with us in the 8th seed, 17.5 games back. They're 4-6 in the last 10. So that's something's got to give there. Chicago and Atlanta are, basically singed up in the 9th and 10th place. What I see in these, what I see in these standings is that Boston, if they don't play Boston regardless might have a tough matchup. Because let's say Miami and Philadelphia meet in the first playing game. Let's say Miami wins. They go against Milwaukee, just like last year. Philadelphia goes to that second game against the winner of Atlanta versus Chicago. And whichever it is, if Philly goes against Boston and they get Joel Embiid back, that is a very interesting series. They have to get Joel Embiid back, but it's a very interesting series. It's not going to be a cakewalk with Joel Embiid. Milwaukee-Miami is interesting because now it's Dame versus the team that he should have gone to with Giannis healthy. And then you would get Cleveland-Indiana, which is an interesting one, and New York-Orlando, which are two defensive stalwart teams. One's young, and the other one has Jalen Brunson and proven NCAA champions in DiVincenzo and Josh Hart. Maybe Julius Randle and Anunoby's back. Anunoby's a champ with the Raptors. So I think advantage Knicks there, but Orlando could give them a scare. In the West, it'll be either Denver versus Dallas, Denver versus Phoenix, Denver, LA, or Denver, Golden State. None of those are easy. One's Luka and Kyrie. The other one's KD, Book, and Beal. Anthony Davis, LeBron, and then Curry. Now, granted, Denver's on a different level. I expect them to kind of clean house there, but I don't think versus Dallas or Phoenix is an easy series just because of the amount of scoring that those teams can put on you. Then you have OKC possibly going against Dallas. Interesting series. Shea versus Luka. Phoenix, KD versus Shea and his old team. The team that drafted him. LA, actually, no. Golden State and LA can only be the 8th seed. Can only be the 8th seed. So technically, yeah, they can only be the 8th seed. So Denver is either facing LA, Golden State, Phoenix, or Dallas. OKC can only face Dallas or Phoenix, which is very interesting. Unless Sacramento loses and Dallas moves to the 6th seed, and they won't face them. But OKC versus Luka, that's interesting. OKC versus KD, that's interesting, especially the dichotomy that's the team that drafted him. And then Minnesota would find itself going against Sacramento, which they would like, with no Cat. And then you got the Clippers versus Zion. That's such an interesting series. I love it. I love it. It looks like it's shaping up to be great. The last thing we got to touch on, our boy Yoshinobu Yamamoto got a little bit lit up. Got a little bit lit up into the Seoul series, the first actual games of the season that count. Dodgers won one and lost one. They were against the Padres. So they're both 1-1. For this opening day, starts Thursday, I believe. Opening day. Thursday. Let's see what games we got. Brewers, Mets should be good. Angels, Orioles. I expect the Orioles to win, but it should be good because we get to see Mike Trout healthy. Braves, Phillies is always going to be good. It's probably going to be Nola versus Strider. If not, Wheeler versus Strider. Tigers, White Sox. Tigers should dominate that. Twins, Royals. I expect that to be an actual good game. It might be Cole Reagans versus... they lost Sonny Gray. Pablo Lopez. Yankees, Astros is going to be great. Probably going to be not Garrett Cole. Probably they'll send out Rodon. And Astros will probably send out Christian Javier, if not Fromber. Giants, Padres should be a good one. I expect the Padres to actually win that one, even though I like the Giants this year. Cardinals, Dodgers should be a bloodbath. That should be all Dodgers all the time. I expect Ohtani to have a big day. They'll probably start Yoshinobu because Clayton is not healthy right now unless they want to throw out Bobby Miller out there. Blue Jays, Rays should be a good game. That's probably... Actually, no, they might throw Glass now in the Dodgers. The Rays, that'll be an interesting game. They're probably throwing out not Glass now. What's the other guy? Another really good pitcher. I'll tell you guys right now. Kevin Gausman. Probably throw out Kevin Gausman out there. Tampa Bay, they have... I don't know who's healthy right now. I know McClanahan isn't. Springs, I know Springs. I know he's probably not healthy, so I don't know who they're gonna throw out there. That's gonna be interesting. Cubs, Rangers should be a good series. They'll probably throw out Nathan Eovaldi. If I have to guess, Nathan Eovaldi, and then the Cubs probably throw. What's this man's name? Not Logan Webb. Justin Steele. Probably throw Justin Steele, the excellent righty. Guardians Athletics is something you don't want to watch unless it's Shane Bieber probably on the mound. Red Sox Mariners, that should be Luis Castillo, if not Logan Gilbert. I expect one of those two to be the starter. The Red Sox are probably sending Brandon Bayo out there. I don't know who else they would want to send out there. The Rockies Diamondbacks. That's probably Zach Gallen. And then the Rockies, who cares? They're going to get smoked. Pirates are probably throwing Mitch Keller, and Marlins are probably throwing Yuri Perez, if not Sixto Sanchez. I actually expect the Pirates to win that game because of O'Neal Cruz and Ryan Reynolds. I expect the Diamondbacks to win. So yeah, pretty good games on Friday. See if anybody else is different playing. No, Saturday. We see the Reds on Saturday. Washington Nationals versus the Reds. I expect that to be probably Hunter Green for the Reds and Mackenzie Gore for the Nationals. And other than that, I believe that would be everyone playing and getting shit rocking and rolling. I'm expecting big things out of the MLB this year. It's going to be really exciting for me to watch MLB this year, not just because of the pitch clock in its second iteration, but just everybody that's healthy. O'Neal Cruz, everybody that's coming back for their second year full-time, Ellie De La Cruz, McClain, Pete Crow Armstrong with the Cubs. You still got Luis Robert at the White Sox. New faces and new places. Juan Soto with the Yankees. You still Ohtani. See what the Braves are gonna do. What Houston's gonna do. See if the Tigers with Spencer Torkelson and Green and Riley Green, can they get off the mat? The Twins. So I'm very excited for baseball. Really, really excited. Really excited to see home runs. Excited to see strikeouts. Excited to see no-hitters. Maybe a perfect game. Amazing stat lines. 3 for 4s, 4 for 4s, cycles. You name it. I love it. Stolen bases. I love it all. All the prospects, Jackson Holliday, Paul Skeens, Wyatt Langford. I'm excited for every single body to come up. But yeah, that was your rundown right there on baseball. We also cover that here too. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me on every platform. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on all my socials, link in the description. We're on TikTok, Instagram, shorts on YouTube. Follow all of that, share it. I appreciate all the support, and I'll leave you guys with the outro. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser, el chamo.